sky was the color of molten lead, and the sea hissed like it was keeping secrets. Through the mist, shapes emerged, sails drawn, oars cutting the water with the kind of precision you only get from people who've been rowing for way too long. One by one, their ships slid onto the sand, and then they set them on fire, not for show, not out of spite, but so that none of them could think of turning back. The smoke and mist rose together, curling over the waves, wrapping the beach in a shroud so thick that later storytellers swore they had arrived in clouds. These were the Tuatha Dé Danann, the people of the goddess Danu. Warriors, poets, magicians, and masters of every art. Their arrival marked the start of a saga, carved in stone, inked on vellum, and still whispered in the hills today. And it's one worth telling from the very beginning. But when I say the beginning, do I mean the day they stepped onto these shores, or the years before in distant lands, when they learned the arts that made them who they were? Or perhaps the beginning lies in the myths before myth, in the goddess herself. History loves clean dates and tidy starting points, but the Tuatha Dé Danann defy such order. They do not simply arrive, they emerge, stepping out of a fog where history blurs into legend, and legend into something older still. To understand them, we must sail backward through the mist, beyond Ireland's green shores, to the northern islands of the world. There, across grey seas, stood 4 cities whose names still carry the echo of magic: Phalius, Gorius, Murius, and Findius. In Phalius, wisdom was guarded by the Stone of Fál, the coronation stone that would cry out under the feet of the true king. In Gorius, warriors trained under the gaze of the Spear of Lugh, a weapon that never missed its mark. In Findius, swordmasters forged and wielded the Sword of Nuada, a blade no one could escape once it was drawn. And in Murius, the Dagda's cauldron simmered, an endless source of nourishment, never empty for those who were worthy. Here the Tuatha Dé studied sorcery, prophecy, druidic arts, and every craft until no mortal could match them. And this is where our journey will take shape. In the episodes to come, the Tuatha Dé Danann themselves will speak. Warriors, poets, and magicians, each in their own voice. They will tell of the lands they left, the treasures they carried, the battles they fought, and the choices that defined them. And through their stories, we will see not just what they did, but why. What you are about to hear is not a tale handed to us whole by the scribes of old. The truth of Danu is scattered, a word in one manuscript, a whisper in another. Scholars can only trace her in fragments. The rest is a story we must imagine for ourselves, built from the pieces left behind. The medieval Irish texts never mention a consort for Danu. Her name survives only in the title Tuatha Dé Danann, the people of the goddess Danu. No myth pairs her with a husband, lover, or divine partner, and the sources remain silent on how the Tuatha Dé became her people. And yet, some interpretations suggest she may have had a counterpart. Scholars have drawn thematic links between Danu and Anu, an Earth Mother figure in Irish lore. If they are indeed the same goddess, she may have once been paired with a Sky Father or fertility god, though no name is preserved. Comparative mythology sometimes connects her to a divine partner, a father god figure in other Celtic traditions, occasionally paired with mother goddess archetypes. Indo-European parallels, such as the Vedic Danu, often present similar goddesses alongside divine partners. But in Irish tradition, that part of her story is lost, leaving only a silence where a name, a face, and a myth might have been. And so, we step into that silence, not to change history, but to dream of what might have been. If Danu once walked beside a consort, the stories of her people might have shaped him differently with each telling. Sometimes a god, sometimes a spirit, sometimes a man of flesh and blood. Some say he was Bella, who, in some traditions, was the ancestral Sky Father, a primordial power of the heavens whose breath stirred the winds and whose gaze warmed the earth. When his sky embraced Danu's earth and waters, the Tuatha Dé was said to have drawn their first breath. Others speak of the nameless River King, a shifting, fluid spirit born of the deep currents. In this telling, he and Danu moved together in a timeless dance, the land and the waters weaving life into the world in their endless embrace. And there are those who whisper of the lost warrior king, a mortal or perhaps semi-divine champion who fought beside her in an age before the Tuatha Dé's migration. His fate is uncertain. Some say he fell in battle. Others claim he waits beyond the veil of the other world, his absence echoing through the bloodlines of her descendants. We cannot prove these tales, but perhaps the truest measure of Danu's existence is not in the certainty of her story, but in the power of the legends she continues to inspire. The myths remember her only as a shadow in the mist. No bard tells us of her battles. No poet records her voice. What survives is her presence, not in deeds we can list, but in the gifts she left her people: mastery, beauty, and the will to shape their own fate. She is the current beneath the river, unseen but guiding its course, the root beneath the tree, hidden but giving it life, the wind that bends the grass on the high hills, moving unseen, yet felt in every breath. And perhaps that is the truth of Danu, that she was never meant to be bound by the words of scribes, but to live on in the spirit of her people, carried across ages in the songs, the stories, and the quiet magic of the Tuatha Dé Danann. This is only the first step into the mists. In the stories to come, each member of the Tuatha Dé Danann will speak in their own voice, sharing the battles they fought, the loves they cherished, and the choices that shaped their fate. Make sure to subscribe, so you will be here when the next chapter begins. Their voices are waiting, and the saga is only beginning. So stay close and walk with us through the legends. And as always, stay curious.